Prepare a table in the presence of my enemy, and you anoint my head with oil. So this, anoint head with oil. Oil back in that time could use for fragrance, for smell, but in this sense, oil is also another way of like medicine and healing. So anointing my head with oil, you see with churches who have elders that they go and visit the sick, they tend the sick, and they pray for the sick. So this is another job in which needs to be done by visiting and praying for the sick and seeing that other people help to help tend to the sick. And verse 6 is, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. So a good leader is merciful. So looking at this idea of the master shepherd, that these are things in which the leaders of the church today need to fulfill these jobs and roles. The second one to look at is John chapter 10. John chapter 10. This will be the last verse, and then the lesson will be yours, but just look at this one last verse in John chapter 10, where Jesus is talking about being the true shepherd. All right, and I'll be starting at the beginning of the chapter. Most truly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same as the thief and a robber. But he who enters the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him. And for you know his voice, yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of a stranger. Jesus used this illustration, but they did not understand the things which he spoke. And continuing on, then Jesus said to them, most truly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. Thieves do not come except to steal and kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. I am a good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. But the hirelings, he who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolves coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he is a hireling and does not care about the sheep. I am a good shepherd. I know my sheep. I know by my own. And the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I laid down my life for the sheep. The other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them I also must bring. And they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down myself. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it again. And this commandment I have received from my Father. So looking through what Jesus said here about being a good shepherd, we can look at verses and take to how the leaders of the church need to be as good shepherds. In verse 3 and in verse 14, it says what a good shepherd does is he knows his sheep. So leaders of the church are to know the people so that they can tend to their needs. And in verse 3 and 4, it says that he leads his sheep. Now this is not in John, but the verse that correlates to it is Luke 15:4-6, where it shows that it's the parable of the lost sheep where a man has many sheep and one goes astray, and he goes off to find it. So a good shepherd has a deep concern for the lost sheep. That is, the elders are supposed to go and look for the people who have gone astray so that they may be able to bring the lost back into the fold. And now we're back in John chapter 10. In verse 10, 12, and 13, we see that a good shepherd protects his sheep. This is the idea of protecting it from false teachers who are here to take sheep and to scatter. It says a good shepherd protects his sheep, and that he's prepared to die for his sheep. And that's verse 11, 15, 17, and 18. Jesus said that he's a good shepherd, and that he lays down his life for the sheep. And the second thing to note is in verse 16 says that a good shepherd seeks other sheep to add to the flock. So with this vision that he wants to take the church in, that he needs to be looking for opportunities to add other sheep to his flock. This is how the church is supposed to grow and flourish. Now that we have gone through why the church needs leadership, who are the leaders, and what jobs need to be fulfilled, we need to start looking at putting in place leadership. And the question is, if you do not have elders in the church, how are you supposed to go about with leading the church? And one way to do this is to train up the current men of the congregation so they might one day become an elder themselves. If I think it was, I looked this up, I can't remember his name. I think it was President Garfield, where he was actually a member in the Lord's church, and he gave up his position to become the President of the United States. And his exact words are, "I resigned from a higher position to take a lower position." And by saying that is, there's no higher office you can hold in this present world than the office of an elder. So as men of the church, we should aspire to train ourselves in such a way that we aspire to be elders one day. Second is to evaluate the current men in the congregation. As a church grows and flourishes, you look for current men to see whether or not they are qualified to be an elder. Now, the thing with being qualified is the first qualification. We didn't go over the qualifications in Timothy, but we did in Titus. But the one in Timothy, the first qualification is one who desires to be a bishop. In that sense, it uses the word bishop. I can't remember the Greek word for bishop, but bishop is a correct defined term for an elder. But it says one who desires a bishop. So first, you must have the desire to become an elder. So, for church leadership, you must be looking for ways and avenues in which you can have elders. Now, I'm not saying a church cannot function without elders. All I'm saying is the way God set up his church to be run is through God's reasoning. That is the way he set it up, and that's the way he knows it'll work the best. Now, just going along with this idea of leadership and this lesson of leadership, that we need to take into account that we need to be looking and training men in such a way that they may be able to become elders and to be able to shepherd God's church. And that for the time being, when there are no elders, that we are able to have men to find a way to fulfill the jobs in which these elders are